Hi, everyone. This is Adam Weiser from the Illinois Self-Advocacy Alliance. We call ourselves Alliance for short. I am the project director for the Alliance. During the presentation, all attendees will be in listen mode only. If you want to connect with the presenter or the Alliance, please use the chat box. You can also raise your hand if you want to speak. We'll have time for questions and answers at the end of the presentation. This presentation is being recorded and will be placed on the Alliance's YouTube channel. Be sure to check out our YouTube channel where we have more than 140 recorded presentations that are available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days of the year. We will also share the presentation recording through our Learning and Advocacy Opportunities email, listserv, and in our monthly newsletter. Today, we have an exciting presentation for you. Podcast 101, a beginner's guide to launching your own show. This webinar will provide beginners with the fundamental knowledge and step-by-step guidance needed to start their own podcasting journey, covering topics as equipment and podcasting platform. Our presenter is Felicia Clayborne. Felicia is visually and intellectually impaired. She is a Wisconsin Statewide Advocate for people with disabilities for 29 years. She is a podcast host of Kingdom Hope Connections and Disability Cafe. She has been podcasting for 9 years. She is on the Wisconsin Board for Developmental Disabilities, InControl Wisconsin, and the Disability Rights Wisconsin Board of Directors. She is the founder and executive director of Champability Consulting. She moderated a keynote speakers panel for a self-determination conference. She is a 2022 graduate of Wisconsin Partners in Policymaking. Let's welcome Felicia Clayborne.
All right, welcome everybody to our presentation today. Thank you, Adam, for the wonderful welcome. And so today we're going to be talking about podcasting 101. And so about me, as Adam has said, that I live in the Wisconsin area, Wisconsin, state of Wisconsin. I live in Wauwatosa, Wisconsin, which is a suburb of Milwaukee County, in my own apartment that I've been in currently for about 17 days. So I've been in there. So I'm fairly new to this. I'm visually and intellectually impaired. I am an advocate. I am a podcaster for almost 10 years, and I am a Partners in Policy graduate of 2022. I have been a presenter for 5 years on health through technology, traveling, and podcasting. So this is my second time doing a presentation on podcasting. I am on, as Adam has said, I am the vice president and a board member of Wisconsin Board with People with Developmental Disabilities, BPDD for short. I am the founder, owner, and president of Abilities Travel Club, founder, executive director, and president of the Wisconsin Disability Advocacy Team. I am a travel director also of the Happy Times of Tours and Experience. I am the founder and executive director of the Champability Consulting, and I am the on the Wisconsin Disability Vote Coalition, a facilitator for the Youth Leadership Forum in the Wisconsin chapter. I am a co-facilitator for a closer look discussion group and fun and fitness exercise class at Vision Forward Association, and I am on the Self-Determination Planning Committee. So that is me. Some of you that cannot see the screen, so this is a picture of me in a hotel room in Oshkosh, Wisconsin, which is in Allegheny County. I was at a Wisconsin Family Leadership Institute through Family Voices of Wisconsin when I took that picture with a red shirt on, and that's where I took that picture at. Next slide. This is my podcasting journey. So in October 2014, I started a podcast when I was doing a 15-minute encouraging messages for 15 minutes. I ended my first podcast with over 600 episodes. And then I did a May of, in March of 2018, I was approached by a person that asked me if I wanted to do the podcasting again, and I answered yes. So about that time, I was the researching and doing what I wanted to do and see what I wanted to do. And July 2019, as Keynote Hope Connection podcast was born, and it has 131 episodes. September 2022, I was at a board retreat that we had a group activity where it was given two questions, and where it came to my turn, I did mine as a interview style podcast. After that turn, I was encouraged to start a podcast, a disability center podcast, and in June of 2023, disability podcast, Disability Cafe podcast was born. All right, some of you are saying, okay, how do you start a podcast? I'm glad you asked. Number one, you got to pick your passion subject on what you want to do on your with your podcast on. It could be on advocacy, caregiving, current events, education, faith-based, history, music, and etc. You got since you is to say, okay, you decided what you wanted on. So now decide on the format. You could do interview style, which I currently do. Let's go backwards. Okay, here we go. Let's get back on track. Here we go. You got to decide what kind of format you want on your podcast. You can do interview style, which is really fun because I've done that for so many years. For almost 5 years, I've done that, and so you could do co-hosting where you have another person and you're co-hosting a monologue, which I did for 3 years. It's a single host presents the entire podcast. Conventional type. Two or more hosts discuss on a theme or a topic. So, say for example, if you're doing a podcast on, say, healthcare, you and that person will talk on healthcare related subjects or themes. A nonfiction storytelling type. You have a nonfiction stories that are podcast episodes about real life events. There's a faith based one called Unshackled, and I love the Unshackled because it talk about basic real life stories. And then you have fictional storytelling types where the host will tell a dramatic story that are not real. It's like listening to a old time radio. So it's like World or the World or Sherlock Holmes or say something like oh goodness, some like some of the older other ones they did have guiding light on radio and then they went into TV and unfortunately went off the air. Okay, here we go. So you decided on what you want to do. You decided on what your theme is, and you decided what kind of podcasting type you want. Now let's brainstorm some ideas. There's some brainstorming ideas. So this is what you do. Decide on what would your name of your podcast would be. Say so there are some examples, voices of champions, Caring Health Podcast, Tech Talk Nation, Durability Chats, or the Autism Connection. Then, once you think of a name that you want, then you think and decide on what logo it might be. So, we have some descriptions on the right hand side of logos of the examples that I was talking about voices of compassion, voices of compassion, and then Caring Hearts podcast, and then Tech Talk Nation, Durability Chats, and the Autism Connection. So you think you decide your logo can can be clear and drawing attention. It has to draw attention to people, to the listeners and viewers. Then you got to think and decide what your tagline might be. So your tagline might be join forces with Heart That Cares or spreading love, convention by conversation, to brighten up your day, where tech lovers unite, building bridges, finding voices, and connecting people with all abilities, bringing bridges and sharing smiles. So you gotta come up with a slogan. My slogan for Kingdom Hope Connections is always keep hope alive, and remember there is hope. So I always end my broadcast with that because that's a tagline that I love. So now you got to think about, okay, you got your title, your logo, your tagline. Now you got to think about the program structure. Intro music if you decided, welcome and host introduction, intro of guests if decided, if you want to do a interview type a podcast, time for you to time for you and or guest. Mostly sometimes I'll tell people when I invite guests to come onto my podcast, I always tell them a minimum is 30 minutes. I could go beyond that 30 minutes if need be, because it sometimes is the intro and the ending is always fitted in. And then you got to ask guests on how listeners or viewers can get a hold of them if you're doing an interview type only. Provide the podcast contact information. Always do that, whether it's phone, whether it's contacting them on Facebook or X or Instagram. Always do that because then you want people to ask you questions or they might have guests or whatever. And always ask the listeners or viewers to subscribe, follow, like, and share and invite others to listen or view. And with that, and then tell listeners or viewers how to go and listen or view. You could say, listen to us on Amazon Music or watch us on Facebook or YouTube. Listen to us on Spotify. Always thank that and thank your do the thank your listeners or viewers and your tagline and then any music if decided. So in that it might be an hour for you or a 30 minutes or 15 minutes or whatever you want to do. So now brainstorming is done. You're excited. Now the setup. Here we go. Now you have chosen what the name of your podcast, logo, and program structure. Now it's time to set up your podcast. Okay. You set up your email address. Always make sure that you can set up your email address. Let it be simple. Sometimes you can't keep it simple. Sometimes you can use your personal email, but I recommend that you get a email. You get email through Gmail, Outlook, or YouTube. I mean Yahoo. You can do that. And then set up your social media profiles. You could do Facebook, Instagram, X, or whatever you decide. Um, and then, if interview style podcast, make a list of guests you want on your podcast. Write up an invitation letter to give out to guests on your list or find on social media conferences, conventions, retreats, and seminars. Make sure you do that. And make sure if you're doing it, if you're asking guests in person, if you're asking for them to come to your podcast, make sure that you give them a business card or something with your contact information, and you do the same. Ask them, do they have a business card or can they write down their phone number, their email, so you can contact them. And also write your introduction and ending statements. Sometimes we can do it shoot it from the hip, meaning that you could do it by memory, and you can do it by memory. I do it for Kina Hulk. I do it for by memory. But when I'm doing Disability Cafe podcast, I write my introduction and my ending statements. So all right, so you learn how to you now you set your email is set up. You created your profiles on social media. You already got your guest list. You chosen what your guest list is. If you choose to do an interview style, now you've written your interview letter to give you to your guests and wrote your introduction and ending statements. Now let's talk about equipment that you need. It's very simple. It's very, very simple. All you need is your phone, a computer, a laptop, a tablet, a microphone, and a dedicated mobile data or internet. You can find a good microphone on Amazon. There are some that are dedicated for podcasting use, and also you can use a good headset that I'm using right now. I do have a suggestion of one. It's called a Chat Geek 3-in-1 mini computer headset. It's a USB earbud earbuds with boom mic. It's A24 on Amazon. When I did this presentation, it might have went up, but I was trying to find the lowest I could get. A suggestion for a headset is a forgive me if I butcher this name, is Madavidek. It's a USB it's a USB headset with microphone, which is $9.99 on Amazon. So these are on the pictures is a laptop, a phone, a tablet, a Wi-Fi symbol, microphone, headset, so that you can find. All right, if I can move my, I can't move my presentation. Oh boy. Okay, let's see what's going on here. Why? There we go. Okay. Now, podcasting platforms. Now you've gotten the equipment that you need. Now it's time to find a platform to put your episodes on. Podcasting platforms is a service that allows you to upload, store, and distribute your podcast episodes. Here are some good podcasting platforms to put your episodes on. So one is Acast. It's a platform, unlimited storage, no limit on how many files or how big your files you post, and unlimited people can download your podcast. Although they have an unlimited free plan, they have two other plans. That one is $14.99 and the other one is $29.99. There's Budsprout. Budsprout is a beginner friendly platform with a free plan and affordable podcasting hosting plans. Their free plan allows you only to upload 2 hours each month. So be careful if you're doing something that want to do unlimited. The highest plan is $24 a month, where you can upload 12 hours each month. So Podbean is the all-in-one platform with a lot of storage, mobile app, and the ability to create a podcast website without signing up for a paid plan. They do have the three other monthly plans: a $9, $29, and $79 plan. Spreaker, that's the one that I started with back in October of 2014. It's a platform made by iHeartRadio Network that allows creators to upload um, their podcasts and share them with audience via multi-channel distribution, social sharing, also embedded audio, and also RSS, which is a rich site summary that you can send to maybe Amazon and iHeart and YouTube. So you can send those to that. So you won't have to go and upload constantly manually. They just upload all the episodes for you. So they do have a free plan that limits you to 15 minutes, which I did some years ago. Spreaker has a $20, $25, and a $60 plan. We're almost done with the podcasting platforms, almost. Spotify for podcasters. This used to be called Anchor. Now it's called Spotify Podcasters. It's a free all-in-one podcasting platform, which, for example, the time is limited depending on your web browser and mobile app. For Chrome is 30 minutes, for Safari is 5, and using their mobile app is 2 hours. TalkShoe, this is the one I use for Keep the Whole Connection podcast. TalkShoe is a one-stop shop recording and streaming, as well as a replacement for web conference services. TalkShoe has unlimited. Just wait a minute. Here we go. TalkShoe has unlimited free plan. When you're listening to the recording episode, about 2 or 3 days later, there is a commercial in the beginning and before your episode and after the episode. So I always tell people when I do record them, I said, when you get the link, I usually send them a raw uh, auto file so they can share it on their platforms. If they got a podcast or not, they can share it, and they won't have no uh, commercials before or after. But when I upload it to my platforms that I have, it's always that constant one. So commercial in the front and in the back. Note that all platforms are not free. You have to pay for them, but that's okay. At least you know the ones that are free and what are not. Okay, there's ways to record your episodes. Okay, now you know about the platforms of podcasting. Not all platforms have podcasting recording aspect that we'll look at and to look. So we'll look at ways for you to record your episode. One is blue jeans. No, not the blue jeans that you wear. It's called blue jeans. It's an audio and visual. It's an audio and video conferencing service that allows others to connect across multiple devices and platforms. You have unlimited calls. You can record video and audio calls, and you can download the calls. Free conference. Free conference is also a free conference calling service, and you can record. You can do audio and video calls. You can be on a call up to 12 hours. You can download your calls. Free conference call. I use this across the board with the two podcasts that I have. Free conference call. It's a free conference call program that allows businesses to host high quality calls. You can record a video call also. You could purchase add-ons. So add-on may be no access code or no pin, or you could put like when people call in, you could put like an introduction or music or something like that. So you could do stuff like that. Or you could add extra storage. Free conference calling is a free conference call program. You could do audio conference calling. You can be on a meeting up to 6 hours, and you can record and download your recordings, and it is free. Everybody loves to use Zoom. I love to use Zoom for certain amount of things. A Zoom is a cloud-based video conferencing program. You can record audio form. If an episode is beyond the 40-minute limit, you might want to purchase a license for $14 monthly or $149 yearly. So you can do stuff like that. So just be careful when you try to find a free conference calling of something like that to record your episodes. Okay. Hmm. Now we're going to go into some of the platforms that you can do. Amazon Music. So you will go to podcasteramazon.com and click on get started. Connect your Amazon account. If you don't have one, it's free. You can always create one. Add your podcast's RSS. That's we talked about rich site summary feed. Click on select your country. Click on submit. Confirm that it has the podcast and logo. Agree to the terms and conditions. Then click um, confirm email. After you have confirmed that that it was your podcast should appear in Amazon Music for 14 in 24 hours. This is the thing that I like, and I do it all the time. I always tell people you could. I say our podcast is on Amazon Music. Did you know you could tell your smart speaker to play such and such and such a podcast or whatever your title of your podcast, and it does it. And I do the same thing with my smart speaker, my Amazon smart speaker. The next one that we have is Apple. And a lot of people love Apple Podcasts, and I do too. So, with how you get your podcast on Apple, I'm so glad you asked. Here it is. Create an Apple ID if needed. If you don't have one, it's still free. Choose your podcasting platform. What we talked about uh, in the previous slides. Always check your audio format. If it's MP3 or another format, make sure that It's downloadable, so when you won't have any problems, upload your pod, I love upload your episode to your podcast platform to your platform. Submit your podcast logo. Add your show. Click on the purple plus sign. Select new show. Then click where it says add to show with a RSS feed. Then you will find where your podcast RSS feed URL is in your podcast platform. Then click copy and paste it into the appropriate box and click add. Review your show details in the form. Now, this is where we play the waiting game. Once you click the save button, Apple will first take a few minutes to process your RSS feed and click on any and see check on any screw ups or anything. Once it has processed, you can officially submit your show to Apple to review. You still have to wait until Apple approves your podcast before anyone can access your episodes. Usually it take a few days. Okay, another one. I know this one might be going away. I did get a notification. Apple Podcast. So Apple Podcast is like it's like Apple, but you can listen to it on an Android. So and it might be going away. I think they said YouTube. Okay, so you go to so you said, how do I get my stuff on Google Podcast? Google Podcast, you go to the website that is provided. I'm not going to say the whole thing, but I'm just going to say what's after the two slashes. Play.google/music/podcast/portal. You click on to add a podcast button. You're going to go to your podcasting platform website and copy the RSS feed link and then paste it into in the input box. Click submit RSS feed. Verify that your podcast is owned by email. In order to verify it is your podcast, you will need to check your email and then copy and paste the code that they sent to you, then paste it in the input box. Yeah, you might have to have two windows open or something like that. Review your podcast information once you have verified that it's your podcast. You're ready to review publish your podcast. If any required information is missing, from your RSS, you will get an error saying whatever you need to fix. Just fix it. Not gonna take long. Just fix it. Okay, then you're gonna publish your podcast. If everything looks good, click on the publish podcast button. Then we play the waiting game again. You would need to wait for Google to review your podcast directory request before it is live on Google Podcasts. It will take a few days. All right, here it goes another one. iHeartRadio. I love iHeartRadio. My first podcast is on iHeartRadio. I don't know how many episodes, but there's so many of them. So with this one, you're going to go to podcastersiheart.com. You're going to submit your podcast. You're going to click on submit your podcast button. Log into your iHeartRadio account. If you don't have one, you can create one. It's free. Go to your selected podcasting platform. Get the RSS feed link. Then you're going to copy and paste it into the input box there at iHeartRadio. You're going to verify it. It's going to review. You got to review your show details and current terms and conditions. Once you do this, okay, you're going to once click on your feed is verified. iHeart will display your show details. Review these details to make sure that it is correct. You must agree to the platform's terms and conditions. Check all three check boxes to own up to accept the terms and conditions. Once once you verify your show details are correct and agree to the terms, you're going to click the submit podcast button. After you do that, you can track the approval process on a dashboard, and then the status of your show will display processing and until it is accepted. Spotify. Everybody loves to do Spotify. I love Spotify myself, and I have my podcast on Spotify. And also, you can also listen to your things on Spotify also. So anyway, here we go. So um, you got to create a Spotify account in order to get your podcast on Spotify. Agree to the terms and conditions. Enter your RSS feed link. Once you have verified that your podcast, Spotify does send a verification code to your email. You have to go and get the verification code for your email. Enter the details of your podcast. You enter the details of which country your podcast is made in, the primary first language, your podcast hosting platform name, and then the podcast main category. After you have entered the main category to your podcast, you can add three more categories: review and submit your podcast. And this is what I like. You get a screen that says nice, we got your podcast, and it take a few hours to get on, and you could track it also. Also, it has like confetti at the end. I like that because I did that one time. It had confetti at the end, your logo. All right, YouTube. All of us love YouTube. I love YouTube myself. But this one's a little complicated, so I'm going to slow it down a little bit so you can get it. All right. So create a YouTube channel. Okay, convert. So you create your YouTube channel. Then you convert your audio episode into video. You could put a picture of your logo on your podcast on the video. You could do this by Canva. You could do it with PowerPoint. There's various ones out there. You can Google them, but I'll just give you some tips or maybe of those. So you go to YouTube Studio. Okay, so I'm going to tell you how to get there. You're going to click on your Google account picture and go down until you see Google till you see YouTube Studio and click on it. Click on create button. Select new podcast. Enter the title of your podcast and description. Add background picture to your video, like I said before. Upload your podcast to YouTube. Your your podcasts have a special podcast badge on the watch and playlist page. So now, because a lot of people listen to podcasts and they had a podcast aspect now, so if you are in your YouTube channel of your podcast, you can create a playlist of podcasts on your YouTube account for your podcast. So that makes it much easier for you to listen to or to share with somebody else. All right. So now we got to the final point about my podcast. Okay. So Disability Cafe podcast is a podcast, was a thought and an inspiration of two disability supporters. As I have said before, I was at a board retreat and we did it was two questions and we did it as a group. And when it came to my turn, we did it as a group session. I did mine as an interview type. So it is an interview type podcast that gives us a spotlight to advocates, supporters, and disability community leaders. We are in the process of recording episodes, and we are currently at seven episodes recorded. We are looking for advocates and supporters and disability community leaders to be on our podcast. So we're going to listen to some today. And so I did crop them so you can hear them. So Barbara Becker is a wonderful advocate, and also she is retired now. She is a strong, longtime advocate that has worked in various capacities at Disability Rights Wisconsin. Barbara shares how she got started in her journey. Let's listen in.
Felicia, this is Christine, and I am not hearing any of the
Okay.
audio.
Okay, just wait 1 second. We're going
All
to
right.
see if we can uh just wait 1 second, guys. Okay, please pardon the interruption. Let us get this thing back where we can share audio. Okay, just wait 1 second. I thought we had it shared. Sorry about that, guys. I thought we had it where we can share the audio. Okay, we got it. So I'm going to go back in. All right, there we go. Okay, all right, take two. All right, now we're going to share some clips of the some of the recorded episodes that we have. And this one is on Barbara Becker. She is a longtime advocate that has worked in capacities of Disability Rights Wisconsin. Barbara shares how she got started in her journey of advocacy.
Start with this journey of advocacy because a lot of people would wish they could be in your shoes, but your shoes are big to fill. So tell us how that journey began.
Yeah, thank you for that question, Felicia. So, like so many people, my journey to advocate for disability rights began because of things that happened in my own life. When my first child was born, he was unexpectedly premature and developed a lot of complications and ended up spending months in the hospital. And even though both my husband and I had very good private insurance at that time, we found out quickly about the institutional bias of our healthcare system, that our son could have stayed in the hospital for years and received coverage for his needs, or until our insurance ran out and we became bankrupt, or fortunately, we were able to find out that Medicaid provides funding for long-term support needs that are important to people with disabilities and with chronic long-term medical conditions. So thanks to the Katie Beckett Medicaid program, we were able to bring our son home when he was about 4 months old after a long stay in the hospital. We kind of brought the hospital home with us, but most people thrive and do much better when they are receiving care in the community instead of in an institutional setting. And that certainly was our experience. So that's what really got me engaged in the fight for disability rights and the right to home and community-based services.
So you heard her journey. Now,
How did you start with this journey of advocacy?
okay. Now we got another lady. Her name is Jenny Benjamin. She's a poet and a freelance author that works for People First Wisconsin as a support team member and also on our easy read in a set in our easy read in plain language. She gives an encouragement to make change in their community. Let's listen in.
What is your encouragement to those who wants to make change in their community and feels like that they can? What can they do?
Yes, I think that it is really, really easy to get overwhelmed and to feel like there's just nothing, whatever it is you're trying to make a change, whether it's, helping a certain community or helping the environment. And sometimes the problems seem so big. My encouragement would be, don't try every day to think about something that makes you feel motivated and good, and then take that energy to do one thing toward that action that you want to change. It could be small. It doesn't have to be a huge thing, but all the small things, like when we were talking about writing each day, all these small steps could add to a big change. So just keep at it and don't give up.
Right. So, and we have our one and only Christine. She is the advocate supporter and the organizational advocate support for the Illinois Self Advocacy Alliance, known as the Alliance. She is the co-director of Blue Tower Solutions. She tells how the Illinois Self Advocacy the Alliance got started.
the Illinois Alliance, the Alliance? How did that start?
Oh, wow. Yes, the Illinois Self-Advocacy Alliance started in 2008, and it was started by a group of self-advocates. And that group was part of a previous project that was funded by the Illinois Council on Developmental Disabilities. And when that original project ended, the self-advocates said, we still want to move forward. There is still much to do, not only in our own lives and communities, but throughout Illinois. And so a proposal was written, and since 2008, the Illinois Self-Advocacy Alliance has been continually funded by the Illinois Council on Developmental Disabilities.
Last but not least, one of my co-workers in advocacy, Katie Corbett. She is an advocate, supporter, and operational specialist for Promote Local in Madison, Wisconsin. She's totally blind, wonderful, strong background in leadership and breaking barriers in the world. She shares her leadership experience in school, her volunteer experience, and being a mentor in Virginia. After that, did you take any leadership roles in your schooling?
Yes. So in college, I joined a professional arts and communications fraternity, and I served in a lot of capacities there. And when I graduated, I was one of, we had two co-presidents. So not just one person being president, but there were two co-presidents. I was one of those co-presidents, and I did that. I worked on my student newspaper. I was a copy editor there. I got a job working in the campus ministry center, doing secretarial work, and even just like, you know, it could even be as simple as like in my friend group, you know, like planning fun things to do or getting people together, and just being there for people. And then after college, because it's been a long time since then, I graduated, probably 11 years ago. And then after college, I did a lot of volunteering at church. I went out to Virginia and worked as a mentor at a summer program for children who are blind and visually impaired, and that was really cool. I kept in touch with a couple of the kids after that and continued to be a mentor for them in their own daily lives. And you know, it's just finding ways to reach out to people and still be involved, even when there aren't like direct organizations that I volunteer with, you know, just like encouraging my friends to advocate for themselves and be a leader, and taking a leading role in my family, and just trying to make a difference as much as I can.
Okay. This is another one. Her name is Molly Cooney. I do work with her through our board. She is the Employment and Disability our Diversity Outreach Specialist for the board, our DD Council. She has done projects as Building Full Lives, Employment First, and Partners with Business. She shares what is Diversity Equity Committee, what diversity is.
Well, diversity, we've done a lot of work in our, so the board has a board, like I mentioned, and we have subcommittees that work on different things. And one subcommittee is called the Diversity Committee, that I think should actually be called the Equity Committee. But diversity is about differences and making sure that we have, you know, people that have lots of different lived experiences and identities and differences coming together in a space to share their perspective and ideas. So we have a committee that's really trying to make sure that we are embedding in every project and in all the work that we do an equity, diversity, and inclusion lens. So how can we be more inclusive? How can we support people that haven't connected yet with us? How can we better be more welcoming to them and reach out to them in ways that they feel comfortable participating and being a part of the stuff that we do, like getting people to come to the self-determination conference, or trying to find ways that more people of color can apply for some of our grants. Whatever it may be, we're trying to critique what our actions are and figure out ways that we can be more welcoming and inclusive.
So, some podcasting tips that I want to leave you with, some tidbits. You have a voice and message. You have a voice and message. This is what I want you to do. You have a voice. Use it, share it. You're doing podcasting, interviews. Imagine them being in your living room. And then within the community, share your podcast on social media within the community and everybody. Inspire others. You never know where you make an impact. Have a quiet space to record, and thank your listeners, guests if needed, and subscribe and tell them to your subscribers and viewers. Trying to think it. Okay, we're trying to move our just wait 1 second here. We are having technical difficulty with our slides today. Okay. We're having technical difficulty with our slides, trying to get them to advance right now, but certainly it will work. Sorry about this, guys. I never thought that this would happen right almost there at the end.
Yes, this is Christine, and as Felicia tries to sort out the technical aspects, I want to let everyone know that when this webinar is uploaded to our YouTube channel, a copy of the PowerPoint will also be added. Felicia shared a lot of wonderful information, and it was a lot to take in and a lot to consider as some of you perhaps move along the journey of creating a podcast. So don't worry if you missed any of the information. A copy of the PowerPoint will be made available. So continue on, Felicia.
All right. So this is ways you can listen to Keynote Connection podcast. It is a faith-based, and we are on Amazon Music, Google Podcasts, YouTube. We will be transitioning to YouTube soon because of the Google Podcast going away, Spotify, and TalkShoe. You can like our Facebook pages and join our group. Disability Cafe Podcast is on Facebook. You could join our Facebook group for Keynote Connections and also our page, like our page. Any questions right now?
This is Christine, and I encourage if any of our participants have any questions to type them into the chat box. We will read them out loud. I have gotten one question already, Felicia, and that has to do with a release. When you are interviewing folk on your podcast, do you have them sign a release?
I do not, but I do feel that they should be able to know that if they share anything personal, that they will let me know. So then I can just tell them, okay, we could give a disclaimer to say that they're sharing their personal business things. But that is a good suggestion to make a release form so they can, if they do feel like that their confidentiality might be broken, which I don't have any problem doing. Any more questions?
Yes, one just came in. Is it profitable? Do you make money having a podcast? That's a great question.
That is a great question. I personally don't make any money off of my podcast, but there are people that do make profitable um, for their podcast. There is a YouTube aspect. If you get enough viewers and enough people, subscribers on your channel, you will get paid. You can add a price if you want to with Apple. You can do that. So there is an aspect of the people paying for your podcast or your stuff. So yes, you can make it profitable. Believe me, if you put it on iTunes, it will be profitable or Apple. Any more
Oh,
questions?
yes, absolutely. Here's another one. Do you ever get stumped on a topic? Where do you go next? What do we talk about next?
If you get stumped, don't run. Don't get off and say end it. If you get stumped, just ask a question, because there are some questions that people would say stuff like, I don't feel comfortable. Just ask it in another way or that they can feel comfortable. If you feel stumped, always be comfortable with the topic or theme that you know knowledge of or you can research of. Never go with something that is too big for you. Always go with the one that your heart hits the most. If you start crying, okay, we don't want it to be the bawling hour, but we want you to be able to share what you know and what the guests know, or whatever that is touching your heart. Any more
Oh,
questions?
yes. How do you maintain your confidence?
Oh, that's a good one. You maintain your confidence by declaring who you are and
Mm.
declaring what you know. It's not what you don't know, it's what you know. Always build that confidence. And if you have to do positive sayings every day, put it on your refrigerator, put it on your mirror, put it in front of you on your closet. Just do something before you start your day, before you start the podcast. If you want to recite a prayer or a positive saying, get that into you and always go for it. And if you just go, it used to be a beer, and I'm not promoting alcohol, but it was one that said go for the gusto. So go for the gusto. Sometimes you got to do it afraid. And I know it's hard, but that's how you build confidence and have confidence in yourself. If other people say you can't, tell them you can, and you prove it that you can. Any
I
more
think,
questions?
yes, I think we have one last question. On average, from, oh, well, let me ask this one. Do you
Okay.
have a favorite episode? Is there one episode that just stands out as this was my very favorite?
Oh boy. For the Kingdom Whole Connection, I have a whole bunch of them, but every time I always go back to one of them. A lot of them that I go back to. There are so many. Um, I have to say the one that I really, really loved was the one I did. It was snowing. I'll never forget this. It was on a Saturday and it was snowing in March. And this person was 50 minutes away from me. And we just and I said in the beginning, it is snowing in Wisconsin. And a lot of and I like said, why did I say that? But when it comes to Disability Cafe podcast, I can say that the most that I have done, my the one that I have done was very, very special to me. And those were the ones that I just really, really love. I don't have a specific favorite episode for Disability Cafe podcast, but the Kingdom Home Connection one was a guy named by the name of David Orneman. So that was one. Another question.
Yes, I think in the time we have, our last question is from start to finish. You have your topic, um, you have your speaker, um, you're recording, you're uploading it. What's the average amount of time you spend packaging your podcast and then getting it uploaded and onto whatever streaming site you use?
It depends on the time you have. I normally don't take that long because I already did it on my downtime. So then before in between guests, I just don't automatically just say, okay, let me get this podcast platform up and then my recording. My recording, it depends on your internet speed for your recording to be uploaded and then for your thing. So some of them take a few hours, some take 24 hours. So if you do the ones that is a few minutes or several hours, just make sure that you keep recording and keep them in a file on your computer or on a drive, a cloud drive, then that would be better. But I say an average that I would take is 30 minutes to an hour because it takes a lot. And then plus, if you're doing flyers, I used to do that a lot, because I used to have mine live, and then now I went from live to recorded. So if you're doing that, answering questions, emailing, or whatever, but it takes some time because every guest is not going to say yes. Potential guests, some might just say, "Well, I'm not interested," or "Can we wait till after this or after that?" Or some of them just plainly don't respond back to you. But don't be too constant persistent every day you're sending an email. But when that person's on your mind, just send an email. Hey, I was thinking about you. Would you be a guest on my podcast? Always tell them what the podcast is and where is it going, because some people may want to share it. Any more questions?
No, thank you so much for this information. I know you're going to share some contact information.
Yep, this is my where you can email the Disability Cafe podcast and also my personal consulting company, Champ Ability Consulting.
All
And then
right.
I want to thank you so much. And then we have our information for the Alliance that you can email and to like the Facebook page and also the YouTube channel. So
Yes.
like and subscribe and also share it with other people. And then speak up,
Yes.
speak out. Go ahead, Christine.
Well, actually, I'm going to ask Adam, the Alliance's project director, to close us out with this information. And while he is preparing to do that on behalf of the Illinois Self-Advocacy Alliance, thank you so much for this amazing information. This gives a lot of ideas for possible next steps. So, Adam.
Thanks for attending our webinar. When we end, the 5-question survey will pop up on your screen. Your answers are important because they help us improve our events based on your wants and needs. Thank you for taking the time to share your thoughts with us.
Thank you all. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye bye.